Jobs. Let us get to our big question of the day, shall we? Has America lost its competitive fire? From manufacturing to skilled trades to education, even to sports. Some say that we're slipping a bit. You're hearing it more and more from concerned CEOs, but is there any truth to it? Joining us now is Peter Schiff, president of Euro Pacific Capital, and Neil Asbury, CEO of the Legacy Companies. I want to get your response to a conversation that we had last week with the CEO of engine manufacturer Cummins, Tim Solso, about America's workforce. Here's what he had to say. How do we bring back manufacturing jobs in this country, even if the ultimate destination is going to be India or China or Brazil? What do we got to do to bring manufacturing back?
Well, I think one is that you have to have a qualified workforce, and that says...
Do we?
No. Not the new people that are coming. One of the biggest challenges is to find a workforce that have the technical skills and the math and science skills that can operate machinery and can do technical work.
And Peter Schiff, the CEO of Siemens, said, hey, we got millions of unemployed in America, but yet we have job openings we cannot fill because we can't find the right skilled manufacturing workers. Are we losing our competitiveness?
Well, absolutely. You know, his problem is, we've got too many Americans taking government-guaranteed loans and going to college and majoring in philosophy or sociology, graduating with $100,000 in debt, yet no real marketable skills. If they could simply go into the workforce at a younger age, if we didn't have all these occupational laws, all these payroll taxes, minimum wage laws, all the labor unions, we could transition our workforce. We would have skilled laborers that actually could make stuff.
So, Peter?
Instead, we're running huge trade deficits, importing things from China.
Peter, is it a matter of just changing our education system, making it a more skills-based training kind of education? I mean, there are plenty of schools that are still teaching Latin and ancient Greek.
Yeah, well, I don't want people to learn in school. I want them to learn on the job. I want them to learn from people that know what they're doing, not just in the educational bureaucracy. That's there to serve the educational establishment, and it's bankrupting the country. But we need to have fundamental change in our economy. We need a real restructuring. Government is preventing that from happening. The longer they stimulate the economy with cheap money, and as long as the government keeps regulating and micromanaging, we're never going to have a real economy. They're just going to keep blowing more air into the bubble until it completely explodes.
Agree or disagree, Neil?
Well, I say absolutely not. America is not losing its mojo. Come on, folks, we are still the world's largest manufacturing country, and until recently we were the world's largest exporter. And the only reason we're not the world's largest exporter today is because China is manipulating and distorting the world markets. Yes, we have some educational issues, but our whole manufacturing segment, the innovative segment of our economies, can boil down to one word, and this is all about job creation too. And that word is access. We need access to foreign markets. I estimate that not having access to foreign markets, markets like China, India, Japan, Brazil, costs us about 6 million jobs a year. Everybody who wanted a job in this country would have a job if we had access. Americans are very efficient and we're very competitive.
If we're how come we have a $50 billion a month trade deficit if we're so efficient and we're manufacturing so much stuff? And why do so many other countries have trade surpluses with China? Sure, we have access.
Let me give you an example. Peter, let me give you an example. Let's take a look at Mexico. Mexico buys more American products than Japan and China combined. That's because we have access to Mexico, a country with barely 100 million people, more business for American manufacturers than 1.6 billion people, because we have access. We don't have access to Japan and China.
Don't American manufacturers have access to American consumers?
Neil,
we do.
I mean, why can't we sell products to our own
bring up
citizens?
Mexico for a reason as well, because recently Mazda announced that they were going to stop producing their Mazda 6 at a Ford plant in Michigan. They're going to move it offshore, and the Mazda 2 and 3 smaller versions are going to be manufactured in Mexico. The largest manufacturing employer in the state of Ohio is now Honda Motors, at not even in the top 10 of employed manufacturers. I know your company buys old manufacturing companies and refurbishes them. Can you find all the skilled workforce at a price that would be competitive that you need?
Hey, look, I don't deny that we have some issues in this country, like education, that we need to address. But to write off manufacturing in America, I mean, that's just a huge exaggeration.
Who wants to write it off? I want to bring it back. But we can't bring it back with all this government.
Just give us access. Yeah, okay, and I can agree that we have some fundamental change that we have here, but Americans are very efficient. Let me tell you, I've owned Asian manufacturing, and I'm beginning to shift product away from Asia back to America. You know, China, if we talk about China's problems...
Bottom line,
yes,
can you do
because,
it as cheaply?
look, it's not... Yes, because the cost of manufacturing a product is not just about the cost of labor. It's about, do we have infrastructure in this country? We have far better infrastructure in America. Well, it's about the social problems of China. It's about the legal system. You know, all of those things add tremendous cost to making a product in China.
The numbers speak for themselves. We don't have the efficiencies because we have too much regulation. We have too much litigation. You can't compete in America because the U.S. government has erected too many barriers. I mean, I know I'm running a business in America. I'm dying under red tape.
That doesn't even compare to what the barriers of China is being erected against Americans. Like me, if I had access to China, if I had access to China like they have access to our market, our sales to China would skyrocket.
Neil, what I'm concerned about is that Nevada has the highest unemployment rate in the United States at 12.1%. They also have the highest dropout rate. About a half of Nevadans graduate from high school. I mean, is this going to be permanent structural unemployment in a large sector of the manufacturing and skilled trade economy?
But, hey, I'm not going to argue that our education system in America needs an overhaul. However, we are still producing a lot of skilled people in this country. And as I've owned foreign manufacturers, the productivity of an American worker is 3 to 4 times greater than that of an Asian worker. And there is other things that comprise the cost of making a product, like social costs, like the lack of infrastructure, like a legal system that doesn't function.
What makes workers productive is the capital behind them. You know, you don't need to go to college to work on a production line. You probably don't even need high school. But what you do need is capital. You need machines. And to get that, you need savings. You need lack of regulation. We don't have that here.
And on that note, thank you very much for joining us. Fantastic debate, guys. We've got to wrap it up.